How important is the story of a musician, of an artist, your story? Yeah. How important is that?
It's everything, right? We're storytellers. Yeah. I think that's what art is. Great artists are those that can put the emotion of something we all feel but struggle to put it in words, right? Great screenwriters are those that can take the embodiment of an emotion, put it on a film script, and put it in front of you in a way that normal people can't, right? We have a hard time as humans learning how to express ourselves and how to communicate to each other our feelings. That's why it's so hard to be in relationships, or sometimes friendships come and torn, because it's not lack of intent or lack of love or lack of wanting to do those things. It's lack of communication. And so narrative is a huge part of our lives historically. It's what makes history, right? It's what allows us to historically build who we are. But in our world, it's everything. I think a great songwriter is a storyteller, a great screenwriter is a storyteller, a great actor is a storyteller, a great artist is a storyteller. So narrative is very important, and it's very important to business. We buy brands because of the story, right? We bought sneakers because of his story. Like, if you didn't believe in Virgil's creative story he designed, the sneakers wouldn't mean anything. They'll just be like, it could be any design, because you just put on shoes for the sake of having shoes, but you buy special shoes because of the storyline that they fed you around the creator or the reason why that shoe got created.
Yeah, the marketing. We was having this conversation with Tyler, and we're talking about whether the marketing or the story comes first, and it really is the story. The story, to your point, is like, now it's like the marketer's job or our job to like figure out how to get to market, find the product fit, that what they say in like the tech world. But tell me about your story, because I think your story is really interesting, and there's un bebecito, like, if you don't mind going into some of that, because you've been through some shit, man.
Yeah, man. I'll give you the key points of it. Born in Colombia, to parents who were never together. I was the love baby. To not call it a mistake, because I don't believe it's a mistake. But in a time in Colombia where the drug wars was fully engaged, due to that and due to that world being what it was, my mother made the decision to leave to the U.S., came to the U.S., as a kid that didn't speak English, blonde, white, in a very diverse elementary and middle school. Quickly had to understand the American way. Either I was going to be bullied or I was going to be the bully.
How old were you?
I was 7 years old.
Oh, you came here at 7? Okay.
Yeah. And so I quickly started to get the American way. But as part of that, a beautiful thing happened, which was the discovery of Michael Jordan and Michael Jackson. Yeah. And I always say the MJs because I think there was something that they did that really influenced my life, which was they truly understood excellence, right? Everything they did was at a high level of execution. I think that's what separated them from everyone else, their level of work and perseverance to bring excellence. And 2, the impact they had in culture. It wasn't just they were great basketball players or they were great musicians, but it was truly, they were incredible influences of culture. Yeah. They changed style, they changed everything around them. And so that led me to really kind of find my mission and purpose of saying, I want that. I want to be able to have that level of influence in culture. And then I grew up, my mother being a pastor, my dad being a Buddhist life coach, ex-race car driver. And so in that process, it allowed me to also start understanding the serving of people, right? Of being able that my life is of service to others in everything that I do. And so that alignment with the mission of wanting to impact everything that I touch really created, I would say, the path, the clarity of path that would lead me into the music industry. Starting really with this idea I had that as much as I spent time in the church being a youth pastor, Christian music had these very incredible artists who were not doing things at a high level of excellence and so preachy that therefore, it couldn't cross over.
Right.
So my first company was actually called Crossover Music Group, and it was intentionally done to say, I went to all these Christian artists and said, like Lecrae and these guys, and I was like, hey man. Early.
Like before?
This is early. Like, I mean, I'm still a kid at church. I'm like 16 years old.
Okay.
And I've talked about my journey in music in many other interviews, but I really want to give you the exclusive of this part because I never really have talked too much about kind of this initial draw of wanting to change Christian music to have, real popular acceptance. And in this time, church was a very closed place. Like, it was very religious. And I had gone to every Christian artist I knew, The Truth and Lecrae, and said, hey, I think we should work with secular producers. Like, the production of your music could be better. And everybody was like, no, you can't serve two kings, blah, 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 blah.
Right.
Long story short, I took it upon myself to hold a little meeting in my mom's house. I dressed up, I put a suit jacket on, I printed out this paper about why this was important. And I met with all the local Christian artists. Some of them laughed, some of them left, but two stayed.
Really?
And I told them, I said, look, I want to do this. I went to Home Depot, built a little wood studio in the room of one of these artists called Prophecy. And we took 17 records that were big instrumentals of songs in that year. And we did Christian positive songs on top of them. But in a different way, like really where if you listen to it today, it's positive music. It wasn't so churchy. It was everything that I thought. And I slept on the floor of this guy. We had one computer. We bootlegged the recording. And I'll send you the picture so you can post it right here as we talk that. But that was really
with
the
hair.
thing. Yeah,
hair,
I had hair. I had flow.
Curly hair.
Yeah, I speak on the intro like, yo, what's up? It's Lex Productions.
Okay, I see it.
I had the thing. I had the swag, bro. You still got it.
You still got it. You still got it.
I was still swaggy though.
So
so essentially did that and started my producing career, and one thing led to the other, and throughout that journey in music, which again, you could hear in other places, was always the intention was, how do I help people? Because that was the part of me that came from my parents. And how do I bring excellence and impact in the things that I do in order to truly change the narrative and perception of things? And so all the way throughout my career, whether it was running publishing companies with producers and making them successful, whether it was a Universal Canada and changing the dynamic of what that company was looking and feeling, to going to Rock Nation and finally breaking artists on the Latin side for them, all the way to meeting TAINY and meeting this writer, Chris Chill, and embarking in what I committed myself to change the perception of producer-songwriters in the Latin music industry, which I think we've accomplished, and then changing the perception of Latin music throughout the world, and Latin content and Latin creators through everything that we're doing in the company now. And so, but it all came from that duality of, I want to serve, I want to be a serving leader in everything that I do, but I want to be impactful, and to be impactful, I need to have excellence, and I need to execute at a big level, and I need to be better than everyone else in how I push forward in order to create the dual dynamic that essentially changes the narrative and creates what you see today in everything that we do.
It's funny you say that, because even when I was in Canada, in Toronto, I was also of similar mindset I started in production. I was telling Isaac this earlier, where it was like, film was my shit. I thought I was gonna be a director. And I remember seeing music videos in Canada and thinking like, yo, like, they put on Much Music, Much Music, you spent some time in Canada, they'd be like, they show music videos from America, like Hype William videos, and then they show like a Canadian video. I was like, yo, it's like night and fucking day, right? So I remember being younger and being like, I want to change this narrative. I don't like the way this looked. Mind you, there were some directors who had a different look for sure, like Director X, who was Little X at the time. But he went to America. His story's like, he sent the tape to Def Jam. They didn't respond back to him. He went all the way to Def Jam in New York, I think, and he's just like, yo, give me my tape back. And he's like, no, I want my fucking tape back. Because he's like, I guess there's costs associated to this at that time. And then he was able to connect with a few people from just showing up over there and being X. But he definitely changed the game. And we saw that as Canadians. I was like, yo, why can't like the productions that are shot in Canada have that level? And that's what I would set myself up to do. It wasn't even like excellence. I was like, better. Yeah. Like, this could be better, because I thought there was a lot of dope local talent, which I'm sure this is what brought you to Canada. But it's like, what we need though is like, we need better storytelling. We need better visuals, because at that time the music video was everything. Yeah. I was always really committed to the same thing as that. And so I find that interesting that you say that.